All right, we are back with our half-hour huddle. This week we have former Oklahoma wide receiver Mark Clayton, two-time All-American, two-time All-Big 12. How are you doing today?
Oh, great, man. Great. Thanks for having me on.
How
Me
are
and
you
Jada.
surviving this quarantine?
Dude, surviving. Man, I fortunately I was able to get a couple of our guys from the school out and run routes and get some balls up probably about a couple times a week. Um, that was like my saving my saving grace through this whole deal.
So,
And
what's
then
post-football life been like for
uh,
you?
it's been I mean, at this point, I'm pretty adjusted.
Hmm.
I'm 7 years in retirement,
Hmm.
essentially. Uh, when I retired, I didn't think that I would be retired when I did, which was 2013. But I had the opportunity to roll into manufacturing goods in China,
Okay.
and so that kept me really busy, and my mind um, you know, focused and working on trying to solve a problem and learning something new that I never thought I would be learning. Since as a kid or anything. But
So, are you working with high school football now? You said catching balls.
yeah, and so I started helping out at a private school
Okay.
in Fort Worth, Nolan Catholic.
Okay.
So I work with the receivers over there, and when I get an opportunity, spend time with, we need a quarterback. So I get our quarterback out and work with the receivers and, help them build their chemistry.
They can probably learn a thing or two from someone like you.
Well, I mean, let them tell it. They know it all.
I remember being that age thinking that I knew it all as well. And I'm
Yeah,
sure you did some of the same things as well.
indeed. Oh, absolutely. I get it. But
So,
no.
I want to talk about your college career at Oklahoma because you had a really productive career. Two-time All-American. There's not too many receivers that accomplish that. Your first couple years, you had a good career, but your third year, it seemed like there was just a complete like switch. You had like 1,400 yards. You just went off. You were a finalist for the Blitnikoff Award. Was there something that changed? Was it your preparation? Like, how did that switch flip for you?
Dude, it was a combination of a number of things. And before that season, I was coming off of an injury.
Hmm.
My sophomore year was cut short. I got injured. Cut. All right. And so I and so it was like my sophomore year. I felt more comfortable in the system. I felt comfortable as a
Hmm.
player, and I felt like that was going to be a really good season. Then the injuries happened, and it limited me quite a bit. And going into that off season, going through all the rehab and stuff, it was kind of like uh, a switch of mentalities. Just having to went from initially going in being a happy-go-lucky kind of guy, and I was just glad to be there. And my sophomore year was more like, this is fun. Now I'm getting to play more, and this is awesome. To that off season going into my junior year, becoming more. I'm gonna take this game to a whole nother level, and when I step on the field next time, I'm gonna dominate, like straight up.
You can see that because if you go look at the stats from your junior year, you only had 5 games that you had less than 100 yards. And that
Right.
means you had more games with 100 yards, which is honestly incredible because, there were games. I mean, your junior year, you guys were blowing teams out. You guys played for a national title that year. You had coincidentally Heisman Trophy winner Jason White then throwing you the ball. I'm sure
Right.
that helps as well when you have a quarterback of that talented.
Absolutely.
What
That
was it
and
like to have a Heisman Trophy, quarterback throwing you the ball?
oh, it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. Our practices were incredible. Like if you could, I mean, from my freshman year to my sophomore year, just those defenses that we had.
Hmm.
I mean, we had defensive player of the year a couple times. We had our corner Roy Williams, Derek
Hmm.
Strait, Nagurski guy, Thorpe Ward winners. Man, I mean, our defense was stout, and so our practices was very intense. And then to have Jay, like we were actually on scout team together.
Okay.
Um, my freshman, true freshman year. And so we had some of that relationship already. But as we started to play together more and, take our bumps and bruises and learn more what it meant to, play at that level and be very successful and efficient at it, dude, it became clockwork and it was fun. And we were assholes about our work. Like
Okay.
we didn't, what I'm saying? Like we during the week like took it very serious, and we would do a lot of extra. I would do a lot of extra on specific throws or specific plays that we knew, like, this is a touchdown play. Let's rep it a couple more times to make sure you can do it with your eyes closed. And so it was a lot of that as it transpired into the game, it made it so much easier, so much fun. And so that junior year was maturation, just mentally, in terms of you can work in such a way that when you step on the field, you can be so efficient that you absolutely annihilate anybody that steps across with you. And then Jay, growing
Mhm.
into who he was, and our offensive coordinator putting us in positions to really like be aggressive. He was, Chuck Long was aggressive with his calls, and he trusted us with his calls, and so that helped tremendously, giving us those opportunities to put those type of numbers up. Giving us those opportunities to put those type of numbers up, which, very appreciative, because it takes a guy, that's calling plays to put your guys in position to win and produce like we did. But it was,
So there's the phrase iron sharpens iron.
yeah,
You mentioned a couple of the guys you went against, Roy Williams and company. Do you think that helped you in the long term?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We had, Derek Strait. Those battles were epic. I would say, Andre Woolfolk, ended up being a first round cornerback, raw athlete. He probably still has the record in the L. He did something really, it was something like something stupid. Like, it was ridiculous. And that defense, if you go back and kind of go through guy by guy and then look at what they did, it was stout. So practices was tougher than games. In a
I
lot of
believe
ways.
that.
Yeah. Those guys were very special. And so when we did play, guys, it became fun. It was, I hate to say it, but it was light work, a lot of it. And but when we came across somebody who could carry that load, and it was going to be a tough one, it made for a great game and a great challenge, and that was fun too.
Yeah, because a couple of those Big 12 teams at that point, like, they just couldn't match up in any aspect of their game. I
Right,
remember
yeah.
seeing, I was looking at the schedule today, and I remember specifically, I can remember being at my grandma's house and seeing when you guys won like 77-0 over Texas Tech. And I
Wow,
remember thinking, like, did Texas Tech even show up for the game?
that was crazy. We only played. And you remember that, and what I think about often is a lot of that season, those games were first half, we're
Yeah,
done.
you guys were out by the second half of the game
It
because you were
was
just
third,
running
yeah.
over the team.
We were running over third quarter. We did a drive to kind of come out and spark, and then we were watching, like,
Y'all were chilling
uh,
in the second half.
second half was chill.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah,
So
yeah,
obviously, your junior and senior year don't end exactly how you wish they would have ended.
right,
Um,
right.
so looking at those two games, the second year you ran into potentially a team that's looked as one of the greatest of all time just because of like who they have on that team. You went against Liner and Reggie Bush and whatnot. Uh, but your first year, you guys, I thought you played a competitive game against LSU. What do
Yeah.
you kind of remember from your first national title game?
Man, I remember LSU playing, mixing up coverage quite a bit. Two-man, man. It took a little bit for us to kind of to figure it out.
Hmm.
They were very aggressive. They played very well and kept us at bay much of the game. And then I remember in the fourth quarter kind of finding a little rhythm. We made some plays, here and there, and then we had a couple of turnovers that hurt a lot. Marcus Spears getting his interception, that was huge. But with that, it was still a close game. It came down to the fourth quarter, and we had some opportunity to, move the ball, and we did. And I remember at the end of the game, we had a chance to tie it up. and Coach Long, he called a perfect play. They went 0, and we sent Kewan Jones down the seam, like wide open. and Jay overthrew it. And I'm like, man, only if Kewan's arm was a little longer, we would be good. But I remember that play specifically, and then I remember the very last play when we just went for verts and he tried to squeeze one in, and I feel like I had a chance to get to it. It was deflected, and
Yeah.
I was trying to make it to it, and just not enough. So we came up short. It was a great game.
So I want to talk about Bob Stoops for a second, because Bob Stoops is obviously one of the legendary coaches in the game. What
Yeah.
was it like to play for Bob Stoops? Because he had this, um, there was this persona around him with the big game Bob.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, what was it like to play for a legendary coach like Bob Stoops?
He was great. He wore that. He wore it very well. Just how he carried himself. I mean, him, Jerry Schmidt, those guys. I mean, they came in and immediately, I wasn't there the first year, but I heard stories about how they were looking for a certain mentality of player, and the way that they would find it is through the strength and conditioning workouts. And guys who couldn't stand it, they were out. Guys who could, they're in.
Nice.
And during, I got, my taste of it my freshman year, summer, and I actually quit. I left. I went to my grandmother. She stayed in Oklahoma City, which I have a lot of family in Oklahoma. It was a part of me going there. And she didn't know what I was doing, but I was just like, I'm gonna stay with you for a while. I'll get a job.
Nice.
Yeah, she come to find out, and then that wouldn't happen, and she took me back to school. But the culture that was being built and that Bob set out to build was incredible to be a part of. Hey, we're going to be tough, and we're going to work hard, and when we show up to play, we're going to work so hard that games are easy. That was kind of the mentality behind it, and he spent a lot more time with the defense because he's a defensive guy. But when he had something to say to us, it was because we wasn't playing up to our potential. And that's, I think every good coach talks to their guys, like that. I think a part of it is being real too. But we had a really talented bunch, and he did a great job encouraging us and really building that mentality, a championship mentality. And I'm forever appreciative for being able to have seen how they ran the program, dealt with each of us. With guys differently, situations differently. We've had, all the police type situations to him getting calls in the middle of the night because somebody done some crazy, like all that stuff. And at the same time, continuing to win in an organization is huge. And you want some football? She wants some football.
So you kind of led into one of my next question. So you mentioned, going to Oklahoma. You had family in Oklahoma. Was that the driving force behind it, or was there something else also that added into why you decided to go to Oklahoma?
That was a part of it. Got it. But the bigger part was seeing the Leach offense for the first time. I didn't watch college football growing up. I watched NFL when the first college football game I paid attention to was OU Notre Dame. Coached their first year, and just seeing that offense, I always remembered it. And they were 4 or 5 wide, spreading it.
As a wide receiver, that interests you for sure.
As a wide receiver, I was way interested. From that point forward, Oklahoma, when they started recruiting me, was already at the top because they threw the ball. I had some other schools come in, but it was a combination of that and being from Oklahoma.
So obviously Bob Stoops retired a couple years ago. Lincoln Riley took over. What do you think of how Lincoln Riley has done with his first couple of years at Oklahoma?
I think he's done tremendous. I think, when I think about the future of football, he's like of options, hands down the best option to have at his age, leading a generation of player that's different, having to deal with things differently, and having to bring social media into the picture. that's a big part of what football is, now, and recruiting, because you have to appeal to these guys because it's very competitive, and being able to be creative in that regard. Lincoln he's the guy, and he's just down to earth. He's real. I think that's huge. So players trust him, which is big, and he's just cool. He got a swag about him that's cool.
Yeah, you kind of sense that he kind of comes off as more of like a player's coach of what it seems like from the outside, that he can really relate to a lot of the guys on this team, that it isn't just, some of these old time coaches where, military style, like you're going to be here, this is how we're going to do it. Seems like he has much more of a player style approach.
Yeah, he's more relational, and he gives guys a voice. I think now, like with kids now, like they want to feel a part of it, and a part of feeling a part of it is if I suggest something that you take it serious. Like I feel like you take, even though you might not be taking it, but you make me feel a part of it, and that you value my word, you value how I feel about something. That's a big deal nowadays.
They want to feel important in the program as well.
Yes, yeah. And so like in the past, it was you're just happy to be recruited. These coaches even considering you, like, I'm there, whatever you need, coach, I'll do it. Now they're like, I would like this, I would like that. Hey, coach, we should run this. Hey, can we try, like, that? They are on a different level, in terms of how they want to impact the organization and impact the team, in a wider variety. Like there's a lot more kids that are like that than that.
Yeah, no, I can absolutely see that. I mean, he's been to the playoff 3 times. You think that the way that the kids are coming in, they want to play there. Like, sure enough, like something's gonna break eventually where they're gonna get a good break.
Right. That's right. Yep. Yeah, man.
So I've got a couple more questions, and I'll let you get out of here. All right. First one is best player that you ever played with at Oklahoma.
Oh man, that's tough. Dang, just one?
Yeah, I'll pick one. I'll give you 2 if you can narrow it down to 2.
All right. I have to go with. All right, one offense, one defense. On offense, Adrian Peterson.
Okay, that makes sense.
On defense,
that makes sense.
Roy Williams.
Another one makes a lot of sense.
They're like, their impact on Roy could control a game from his position, like sick.
How about the best player you ever played against in college?
That we played, I would say, Darren Sproles.
Okay.
Was amazing.
I mean, he just hung him up a year or 2 ago, so his longevity is still there.
Yep. Yeah, just how he was amazing to me, like just watching. And then Julius Peppers.
All right. Yep. Another good answer right there.
He was a monster. Yeah. He
was a Hall of Fame defensive end. So.
Yeah, like he was a freak side. Like he was just I think he scored North Carolina's only touchdown when they came to Norman. From the end, it was he picked the bubble, I think.
We were talking about him recently because coincidentally he played basketball at North Carolina too, which also says something, because if you're good enough to play on the basketball team, it means you're pretty talented.
At Carolina.
Yeah, Carolina nonetheless. Not like you were playing basketball at, Tulsa. No, you played at Carolina in the tournament and started.
Yes. He is a legend, bro. Like,
yeah.
He's not gonna get the fame, all that, but he, bro, in the history of just football, like one of the freakiest dudes I've ever seen.
I believe it. All right, last question, and I'll let you get out of here. If you wouldn't have went to Oklahoma, where do you think you would have ended up?
I would have ended up at LSU.
Okay.
LSU. Saban, they came to my place right before signing, because he had just got the job, and he made a very compelling case.
I believe it. He's done well for himself. So
yeah. Yep. That was. They came late, but it came down to Oklahoma and LSU.
All right. I appreciate you doing this. I hope you do everything well with quarantine, but
Yeah, man.
um,
Appreciate it.
thanks for coming on today.
My next, my mission, I'm getting a haircut next week.
Yeah, yeah. They opened them up here too, so everybody's talking about getting haircuts finally.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.